Make sure you have a pencil and a calculator before we get started. Today's lesson is 6.4, Day 1, Solving Absolute Value Equations. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to solve an absolute value equation. Let's begin by reviewing what absolute value means. Absolute value is the distance a value is from 0. Because we're talking about distance, our value will never be negative. So down here it says absolute value equations have a set of straight bars around a variable or expression. So here we have our example. Here's our bars around our variable. And here's an example of our absolute value bars around an expression. Down here, this is not an absolute value equation. Now, the reason that this is not an absolute value equation is because the absolute value bars are not surrounding a variable expression. So let's go ahead and write that. The absolute value bars are not surrounding or not around a variable expression. Alright, so let's go ahead and continue by solving absolute value equations. Here it's asking us what is the absolute value of 10? Well, the absolute value of 10 is 10. Here it's asking us what's the absolute value of negative 10? Well, that's also 10. So here it's saying the absolute value of what number is 10 units? Well, that could be positive or negative 10. So we say plus or minus. Let's keep going. To solve an absolute value equation, there are 4 steps. You want to get the absolute value part by itself, isolate it, write 2 equations, solve each one, and then of course check your solution. So let's go ahead and start with example number 1. Notice that our absolute value is on the left side of our equation by itself. Since it is by itself, we can now go to step 2, which is to write 2 equations. So we're going to break this up into 2 problems. One of the problems is going to stay exactly the same, but it's going to lose the absolute value bars. Our other equation, again, is going to lose the absolute value bars, but we're going to change it to equaling a negative 7. Now we have both problems here that we can solve. We're going to add 3 to both sides, and when we do that, we get x can equal 10, or if we add 3 to both sides over here, we get that x can equal negative 4. So let's go ahead and check these solutions. I'm going to start with checking 10. So first thing we're going to do is set up my original problem, x minus 3 in absolute value bars has to equal 7. So now I'm going to plug in 10. So I have the absolute value of 10 minus 3 must equal 7. Well, 10 minus 3 is 7. And I want to know, is the absolute value of 7 equal to 7? It sure is. So that is a possible solution. Now let's check negative 4. Again, we're going to take the original problem, x minus 3 in absolute value bars set equal to 7. We're going to plug in negative 4. So we have negative 4 minus 3 in absolute value bars set equal to 7. Then we're going to do negative 7, and the absolute value of negative 7 is 7. So again, here we have another true statement. So both of those solutions work. Okay, example number 2. Again, we're going to break this into 2 problems. So the first problem would be x plus 1 equals 6. And our other problem would be x plus 1 equals negative 6. We're going to go ahead and start solving these. We're going to subtract 1 from both sides so that x equals 5. Or subtract 1 from both sides here, x can equal -7. So our answer is that x can equal 5 or it can equal -7. So now we're going to continue and we're going to check these solutions. So I'm going to maybe use a different color. Let's use black. And the original problem is x plus 1 is equal to 6. I'm going to check 5. Does 5 plus 1 equal 6? The absolute value of 6, does that equal 6? Yes, 6 equals 6. And let's check -7. So the original problem is x plus 1 in absolute value bar set equal to 6. We're going to plug in -7. And -7 plus 1 is going to equal -6. And the absolute value of -6 is 6. So again, we're left with a true statement. So both solutions work. Right, do you have any more problems on this page? Nope. Let's go to the next page. All right, so more practice. Notice in number 3 that our absolute value equals a negative number. That is not possible. You will never have an absolute value equal a negative value. So there is no solution. And let's go ahead and write down why. No solution. And it is because, I'm going to change this pen just a little bit, because an absolute value will never be negative. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to number 4. Now, remember when we talked about our steps, we said the first thing was to get the absolute value by itself. If we look here, there is a 2 outside of our absolute value. So before we can break our problem into 2 problems, we have to get rid of the 2. So in order to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to divide both sides of our equation by 2. 2 divided by 2 cancel, so we have x plus 1 is equal to 4, still in absolute value bars. And now we can break it into 2 problems. So we have x plus 1 equals 4, and we have x plus 1 equals -4. And now we can solve both of these, subtract 1, so x can equal 3, subtract 1, x can equal -5. So these are our answers. X can equal 3 or x can equal -5. All right, let's move on to number 5. Again, our absolute value is not isolated. Here's our absolute value, and we still have this plus 3 that we have to get rid of. So let's go ahead and do that. The first thing that we're going to do is subtract 3 from both sides of the equation. When we do that, we're going to be left with 2x minus 5 in absolute value bars is equal to 6. Now that the absolute value is by itself, now we can split it up into 2 problems. 2x minus 5 equals 6, and 2x minus 5 equals -6. So now we're going to solve the problems, add 5 to both sides. So 2x equals 11, divide both sides by 2. So x can equal 11 over 2, or let's add 5 to both sides. 2x equals -1, divide both sides by 2. So we get that x can equal 11 over 2, or it can equal -1/2. So there are your 2 answers. All right, let's move on to number 6. All right, so number 6, we've got a couple things we have to do here first. Remember, you always want to eliminate addition and subtraction first. So we're going to subtract 3 to both sides. Then we're left with 2 times the absolute value of 5x plus 1 equals 12. Now we have to get rid of the 2. So to do that, we're going to divide both sides by 2. So these 2's go away, and we're left with the absolute value of 5x plus 1 is equal to 6. Now that our absolute value is by itself, we can break it into 2 problems. So we have 5x plus 1 equals 6, and 5x plus 1 equals negative 6. We're going to subtract 1 from both sides. 5x equals 5. Divide both sides by 5. X equals 1. Now let's do the other problem. Subtract 1 from both sides. 5x equals negative 7. Divide both sides by 5. So x can equal 1 or it can equal negative 7 over 5. So here are our 2 answers. There are only 2 problems left, 7 and 8. Try them on your own and then check them with an adult to see if you are correct. After you are finished with today's lesson, you can start on your homework.